Yesterday, I had a wonderful conversation with a new lady who was looking for support and help in getting her boyfriend back. So she was going through a really tough breakup. They had been together for over 4 years, and they had recently parted ways, and she was looking for ways to get him back. So how do I get him back? And so I called this video How to Get Him Back and How to Keep Him, because it's really the same thing. How you get the man back and how you keep your man, whether it's the guy you're dating or even your husband, it's the exact same principles. So regardless of your relationship status right now, you're going to want to watch this video because it applies no matter what. So I felt this was a very important topic to talk about today. So I'm going to share that with you. But first of all, if you're new to my world, welcome. My name is Mireille Nicole. I'm a relationship coach, and I work with women who want to get or keep the spark going in the relationship, who are having problems in terms of communication with their husband, and who really want to learn how to navigate conflict. So if you don't know my story, I have a video pinned to the top here where I share how I went from divorce, finding my dream man, and then how we struggled, right? We didn't have the tools. We had our down, just like most of us have up and downs, right? And once I learned all these relationship tools and skills that I share with you, I managed to turn that all around. So I love helping women get out of those tough times in the relationship and making it better, because there's always something that we can do to improve our relationship. All right. So how do you get him back? How do you keep him? The answer is super simple. Well, actually, let me give you some background. All right. So like I shared, this woman had been dating this man for a few years now. And then just maybe in the last several months, things started changing, right? And obviously she recognized a lot of the behaviors in herself, and her man had also shared a lot of information in terms of what was going on, right? So he had shared with her, she was lashing out more. They weren't having as much fun together. There's a bit of jealousy involved because he had started befriending another woman, and that caused a friction. And so there were a lot of factors going on, and this woman was looking for help. Like, how do I deal with this? Like, all this happened, and clearly they didn't seem to have the tools to overcome this, right? And they found themselves in the situation where they had broken up. So she was looking, how do I do this? And in a nutshell, the way to get him back, the way to keep him, the way to strengthen a relationship is always going to be the same, like I said. So in this case, she had gotten feedback from her boyfriend in terms of what needed to happen, right? So there was lashing out. So clearly here, to get him back is really going to be focusing on communication, right? You're going to really want to work on your communication skills and your emotions, right? In this case, I could sense there were a lot of emotions, and she was open to that, right? She realized that, she's a very emotional person, and that can be awesome. That can be a superpower for you. Emotions are great in relationships. Obviously, we want to feel a lot of good emotions, but when they're not managed properly, this is where things can go wrong. So obviously, that's going to be important work in your relationship, or even if you're not in a relationship anymore, to really get a handle on that. Number 2, having fun. And I kind of talked about it in the intro here, right? How important it is to have a good amount of recreational intimacy in your relationship. Men really bond over having fun. And this is something that was identified, right, as a problem in the relationship, where they weren't having as much fun anymore. And based on the story too, we could see that there was a man another woman who came in who he seemed to have fun with too, right? So the more we can have fun in a relationship, the more we grow that bond together. And really, in a nutshell, right, the way to keep your man, the way to get him back, the way is to always be the better offer. This is another thing I talk about a lot, because I can't stress that enough. I really want to, if there's one thing you take away from any of my videos, from this one, from all of the ones that you watch, all right, is to you always want to be the better offer. Okay. And what do I mean by that? So, I mean, literally, what the better offer is obviously you're going to want it to be a better deal for him to be with you than it is for him to be single, right? It has to be more tempting to be with you than to be single. So if your man identifies things that are making him unhappy in the relationship, all right, you'll need to remove those things, right, that are causing that. Otherwise, it's going to be a better offer for him not to get lashed out at, to find other fun activities, right? And in this case, maybe someone else too, having someone else in the picture. So to be the better offer, it has to be a lot more fun and pleasant and happy to be with you than the other way around, all right? And so whether it's just single or whether it is, someone else in the picture and him running off with someone. So obviously, there's more to it than that. I know I get comments all the time about, when I talk about being the better offer, it's not just about him, right? And I share this with the women all the time. It's not about pleasing him being the better offer. It's about being the better version of yourself, right? Because when I was talking to this woman, it was clear that she is not the woman that just lashes out to people, right? There were situations, there were circumstances in her life that were causing that to happen. So when I talk about being the better offer, I'm talking about being back to the best version of yourself, right? So, and same thing with, having fun. It's not about just doing what the guy wants to do all the time, right? I'm sure there are things that in the beginning of the relationship, they had a great relationship, which means I'm sure they were doing fun things together, and it's getting back to that. And a lot of times over time, because of the day-to-day, different circumstances, life challenges and obstacles that come our way, it can be harder to just be kind of in that fun vibe. And even a lot of times we take our partners for granted, right? I have a lot of women that come to me, oh, he'll never leave me. Okay, maybe he'll never leave you. Who knows? But also at the same time, you want to have fun, right? Like if you're in a relationship, I know for myself, when things were more difficult in our relationship, we weren't having fun as much, right? That was a huge one for us. And obviously the communication too. So I can totally relate to this woman. So I am not sharing this out of to shame or to blame. This is just another example above what I've been through and very similar to some of the things I've been through that I can use to share with you guys so that you can also relate and to see what aspects of my relationship can I strengthen so that it's the better offer for me and for him, right? I'm sure you also want to be in a relationship where it's fun, where there isn't jealousy, where there's no lashing out, right? When there's no other person in the picture. Just flip those tables around, right? I would never want you to be in a relationship where that was happening to you also. So always try to put yourself in the other person's shoe at the same time, right? Really focus on that. Empathy is going to be huge in a relationship, and empathy isn't about taking on someone's emotions. It's about putting yourself in that person's shoes. So would you want to be in a relationship where your husband's lashing out to you all the time? No, you'd probably, communicate that with him. And if he wasn't changing, I'm sure you would take steps to either fix that situation or put yourself in a situation where that's not happening anymore, right? So be that better offer, right? And always you flip it around. Sometimes that can be super helpful, and listen to him, right? Listen to your man, just like you want him to listen to you, right? Listen to him in terms of clues about what can be improved, what's going on and stuff. So, all right. So just to get, and actually a good example of this I had written down, right? Like if you went to work and you were always late and your boss told you, okay, it's a problem, you're always late, and that didn't change, you would probably get fired, right? So it's the same thing, guys. It's the same things. Maybe that's a bit of an extreme example, but I mean, your employer is going to find someone who's on time, right? Or, find a way to, anyways, that's just an example that maybe you can relate to. It's a bit of an extreme example, but I think it's a good illustration, right? In terms of, listen to the feedback and be the better offer, right? Over that other person who's going to be there on time, right? Just listen to the feedback. Anyways. So just in terms of getting someone back. So something that was good in this situation was that she sees him a lot, right? Even though they're not together anymore, they're at work together, they're, church together and stuff. So she can still see that person. So there's a lot of great opportunity for her to kind of change the experience and change the memory and to show that, she can be fun and she's doing this work on communication and, emotional mastery and stuff like that. So she's in a great position to turn that around and show him kind of what he's missing and that she is the better offer. So, that's something that works really well in her favor. And that's a great way for her to kind of see if there's opportunity for him to come back to her. And when it comes to situations where maybe there isn't that much interaction, it's going to be a little bit different, right? And I'm just going to share with you an example. So this is a guy I dated like many, many moons ago, and we were dating, and I could tell things were kind of, difficult at times, good. There were a lot of highs and lows. We weren't very good communicators. I didn't have any of the skills or the knowledge. I didn't have anyone guiding me and supporting me during that time. So I could kind of tell, but I didn't know what to do, right? And at one point, he broke up with me. And it's funny because in the moment, obviously, like I was devastated, but in the moment, I played it very cool. I wasn't being insensitive or whatnot, but I kind of accepted it, right? I always talk with women about accepting a no, I call it, but I accepted it in the moment. Part of it was because I was in shock and I didn't know what to do, right? But I kind of accepted it. And it's funny because so for, 2 weeks after that, I just really focused on myself. I was sad. Obviously, I was thinking back about all like the scenarios in my head of things that had happened when we were together. And I was like, okay, I can kind of see, that happening. But at the same time, like I said, I didn't have the emotional mastery I have now. I didn't have the communication skills. I didn't have the understanding of men that I have now. So it was a little bit different. But just to say, like after that, because I didn't kind of lash out or, get really, I kind of showed the calm, cool, collected version of myself when this happened. And after 2 weeks, he actually emailed me back. And now that I think of it, like I can see I was doing all these things unintentionally, really focusing on myself, right? And not kind of, I gave him time to reflect on all the good stuff because it didn't like end with me kind of showing the not so good version of myself, if that makes any sense, right? So he came back, and not to say that we got back together, because like I said, I didn't have the tools back then. I actually, when he came back 2 weeks later, that's when I lashed out and I never heard from him again. But now thinking back, I'm like, oh, I can totally see what was going on there. So just another example of the power of showing the best version of yourself in a situation, right? And what's going to bring him back is those fond memories missing you. And to have those fond memories and to miss you, we have to kind of show up as our best version of ourselves, as the better offer, so that that's what he remembers, right? And that's what is kind of overriding the situation. Of course, this is always easier said than done, right? A lot of times, okay, it's easy for me to say, okay, or for anyone to say, okay, stop lashing out. Okay, but what do you do instead, right? This is where I come in, coaching, therapy, whoever you want to get support from. How do we have fun together when, you're so full of resentment, or when he's already distanced himself? How do you bring him back so you can have that fun together? That is all like part of the work that I do. So if you have any questions, make sure to, you can DM me if you have any questions. If you're a hell yes, if you've been watching me for a while and you're like, okay, you know what? I really want to give this a go. I really value my relationship and I want to do this work. There is a link in my bio that you can click and we will hop on a call together and see what to do in your circumstances.